Good morning. Today is July 8th, 2022, Friday morning, and I'm sitting in my rental house at 691 Turtlewood Place in Henderson, Nevada. I retired from my job as Vice President of Finance and Administration at Lone Star College System Cy-Fair campus in September of 2016, and came to Vegas and decided that I liked it well enough to retire and move out here. And I really enjoy the desert climate and the mountains, but I feel like I'm a vagabond. So what do you do when you're retired with nowhere to go and nothing to do? Well, I solved the nowhere to go problem by moving to Las Vegas. And what to do has been an interesting little journey. I bought a piano, another piano, and started playing the piano again. I discovered bowling, and I enjoy going bowling when I feel good. And I begun a creative writing project called Dream World. And surprisingly, I've been developing a better relationship with my family. Erica, Alan, Victor, Tanya, Carl. I stay in regular contact with them despite being quite far away. And fortunately, I still have both of my parents as of today. Dad is 90 years old. He's failing, frail, and in a hospital bed at home. Alan takes good care of him. And my mother lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She's in a wheelchair and still quite mentally alert for being 89 years old. And I call them both once in a while. I also talk to my Aunt Diane regularly and stay in touch with some of my first cousins on Facebook and other friends too. So retired life has been full of minimal activity. One thing that's come important though is documenting my life for some reason. That's the purpose of my Dream World diary, where I transcribe my dreams and editorialize on my life. Also, I have been reviewing some old family home videos that I uploaded several years ago. I've had some Super 8 movies that go back to 1961, and then when I got married and had kids, I bought a camcorder and recorded hours and hours and hours of video of my life from 1986 up to about 1990, and later had all those old VHS tapes transcribed into digital format and uploaded into YouTube. And lately I have been reviewing those old home movies, old now that they're 35 years old, to recall the events as well as I can and document the people who were in them and the situations that led to those videos being made. And what startled me during that process, beyond me as a young man, my kids as little babies, is the fact that since 1990 until just recently, I haven't videotaped anything of my life. And I'm going to rectify that as well as I can from a stationary camera hooked to my computer here in the living room of this house in Henderson, Nevada. Pardon me, I'm eating a cookie for breakfast. Pretty good. Anyway, what the fuck happened to me since 1990? I know, but if I don't tell you, it's just going to be completely lost in a huge gap in my historical record. So, from 1988 to 1990, I moved to Birmingham, Alabama because I found out very disconcertingly that my dad was going to sell the funeral homes. Even though I had invested almost 16, 17 years in working at the family business, to have the rug jerked out from under you like that was more than anybody could handle. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to go back to Birmingham where I can get 2 days off at least instead of working 24/7 and think about what I should do. And fortunately, there was a kid working at the funeral home who was um, taking accounting classes at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. So I asked him about accounting, and it seemed to be easy math. And I checked out the accounting industry as a burgeoning part of our economy during the 90s. Decided I would become a CPA. So I started night school at the University of Alabama in Birmingham and worked at it for 2 straight years and acquired enough academic credits to qualify to take the CPA exam in Alabama. I had to sit for the exam twice, but I did pass all 5 parts, and I have a CPA from the state of Alabama. And that credential launched my accounting career. It's my Chicago coffee cup. It holds about a half a gallon, and I just love this damn thing. Even when the coffee's cold at the bottom of it. So, went back to Pensacola after Birmingham. And the reason I went back to Pensacola is because I got fired from the funeral homes in Alabama for something that I didn't do. I was scapegoated, and I probably should make a whole video on that affair. But anyway, I ended up back in Pensacola working at the Lakeview Center, which is a mental health service provider based behind Baptist Hospital. Pam's cousin was this financial man there, and he's the one that just gave me the job. So I got started in accounting like that. Worked there for 2 years. Then I briefly went back to the funeral home because Dad really wanted me to go. And I should have known better because now he did sell the funeral homes, and I got sold off with that pack. And the new company got purchased, and then they fired me, and I ended up with no job right about the time I got divorced in 1995. So there I am, a CPA, a funeral director who can't get a job in his own hometown, and divorced. So what did I do? In November of 1995, I got on a Greyhound bus in Pensacola with $900 and a suitcase with nothing more than about 2 dirty suits. And I went to Chicago. My cousin Patty was running a Motel 6, so I was able to stay in some of their downer rooms that could not be rented, for about a week while I contacted account temps and looked for a place to live. Well, account temps called back, and I had a temp gig at a place called Illinois Institute of Technology. I'd never heard of it, and it didn't matter because it was a paycheck. And a few days later, I found a dumpy garden apartment down the street in a slum. But anyway, it was a place to sleep out of the cold weather. And I started working at IT. And in April of 1996, I went from a temp position to a full-time staff accounting position for more money than I had ever made in my entire life, $35,000 a year. And I rode the Chicago L trains to work. Later discovered that you could ride the metro trains in Chicago with a lot less hassle. And I worked at the Illinois Institute of Technology for 15 years. During that time, I bought a townhouse in Romeoville, and after about 10 years, it seemed that I had enough experience to maybe try to advance my career, but I found that I couldn't even apply for some of the jobs that I was interested in without a master's degree. 10 years in CPA is just not good enough. So I started going to school online with Regis University in Denver. Spent another 2 years, and I got an MBA. Now I had more credentials. Now I started getting job interviews. But I didn't know how to interview. It was a total klutz when I think about it now, about how I conducted myself during some of those first interviews. But I took notes and studied the process. And when I finally got my MBA, this was really good until one of the cohort in the last class says, you know what? MBAs are a dime a dozen. What the fuck? I mean, I just spent 30 grand and 2 years to become dime a dozen. No way. The very next month, in September of 2008, I enrolled at Walden University, another online school accredited by the same people who accredit the Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago, University of Chicago, Northwestern universities, no slouch just because it was online, and started the PhD program in management. My mentor, Dr. Ahmed, had worked at IIT, and he was a professor at the University of North Carolina. Other members of my committee were from University of Kansas and University of Vermont, and I told all of them, I want a real doctorate, one that'll stand up against people that go to all the brick and mortar schools, so nobody will say I bought a diploma at a diploma mill online. Fuck that shit. I worked really hard for 4.5 years, plodding away, reading, writing over 800 academically peer-reviewed pages, and finally graduated with a PhD in management. I had a 4.0 grade point average when I finished, and my dissertation was nominated for its acumen for use of statistics. I didn't win the top prize, but I was nominated just like an Academy Award nominee matters. So my academic work was pretty damn solid. Subsequent to that, I had published my academic work on academia.edu, and as of today, my work, after almost 10 years of being published, has garnered over 2,250 citations. So my work had academic power and longevity, and I am Dr. Robert Ebert Keyes Jr., PhD, and I had a subspecialty in decision science, specifically subjective psychology of decision science, which I put to good use for my own benefit first. So now I had over 10 years experience in academia and working in higher ed, staff accountant, senior accountant, and finally director of finance. I had an MBA, and now the powerhouse of a PhD. And I went to town doing job applications. I wanted to be a vice president. And actually, I got to be the vice president at New Mexico State University at the Carlsbad campus, and then later at Lone Star College System in Houston at their Cy-Fair campus. Finally, I was able to retire now. I'm sitting here in front of the camera, retired for 6 years, enjoying my time in the sunny Mojave Desert. That's enough for now, and I'll think about more succinct topics to talk about and catch you up on what I'm doing now and maybe what I intend to do for the next 37 years. You see, I'm going to live to be at least 100. I always told everybody I was going to live to be 200, but if I made it halfway there, that'd be good too. So, considering that my parents have lived up to their 90s, I feel like I got a pretty good shot of living to be 100. So, shit, man, I'm just a kid.